This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
A very warm welcome to Philippines Uncut, hosted by Buddy Konanan. But he has flown to Germany and then proceeding to Paris, where we will all converge. And I'm Cecile Guidote Alvarez, your guest host, and we will be talking about Philippine cultural initiatives at COP21 in Paris, which will begin November 30. So we're starting on the eve of the opening of the crucial meeting of world leaders, where we hope they will have the heart to forge the global deal that will save Mother Earth and life on Earth. And we're very pleased to have a couple of guests, very special guests, as we talk about what are the cultural ingredients Filipinos are bringing in to Paris. First of all, our Philippine Center of the International Theatre Institute has held a global playwriting contest to confront climate change and defy disasters. And we had as a partner the United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction, which is headed by Dr. Margareta Wallström. And we have with us none other than the project director of this international drama competition. And that is Dr. Isagani Cruz, who is president of the Manila Times College, as well as the Secretary General of our Philippine Center of the International Theatre Institute. Isagani, better greet the fans of Buddy Konanan on GNN.
Thank you, Cecile. I'm very happy to be here to talk about not really just a Philippine initiative, but a global initiative of artists and playwrights to help our world realize that climate change is a pressing problem. Of course, the Philippine Center of the International Theatre Institute really started the idea that perhaps we should have our playwrights, our dramatists, talk about what is really happening now in the world. So I'm glad to be here because I want to talk about who exactly won and who joined.
That's the secret that's going to be revealed now, and it will be unfolded in a special ceremony as part of the what you call an official side event granted by the United Nations Framework Convention and Climate Change Secretariat, headed by Miss Christiana Figueres. And it's a tri-continental, South-South intercultural interfaith dialogue that covers all the continents, sharing good programs that we can learn from in order to combat climate change. And one of the issues with culturally is how do you have effective communications? And here we have been, I would say, animating playwrights to give their talents to reflect on the problem and motivate people to get involved. So we had this announcement done. When was this given?
Sometime in May of this year.
Yeah, and it's amazing that it ended at the end of August, and we were able to harvest how many entries?
Oh, quite a number. from really 14 countries, and I have to actually look at them: Argentina, Bulgaria, Canada, France, Fujairah, India, Iran, Malta, Nigeria, Slovenia, UK, USA, Vietnam, and of course the Philippines.
Yeah. So 31 countries from
14
all,
countries, sorry.
14
14
countries,
countries.
from 31 entries
31
from
entries.
all over
All
the
over the
continent.
whole world, yes. And they
Yeah.
all responded to the challenge given by the Earth Savers UNESCO Artists for Peace, which really organized it under your direction, ma'am, to the auspices of the International Theater Institute.
Well, we have to thank also our other partners. There was, of course, the Climate Institute, and of course, we're being helped also through the Climate Change Commission. So it's wonderful that we will be able to present the winner. But how did you arrive at the winner with 31 entries and only a month, technically, of reading, or a month and a half of reading? And Isagani Cruz was the chairman of the board of judges. It's an international jury. And maybe we can share the other members of the jury.
Yes, we were helped quite a bit by the Director General himself of ITI. This is Director General Tobias Bianconi, and by the President of the International Playwrights Forum, Andrea Zakorsky. So it was quite difficult because we had 31 really professional and playwrights joining the competition, and any of them could have won very, very easily. So we had to decide to have at least some kind of short list. We couldn't decide on just 5, so we made it 6, and then we, talked about it, emailed, and eventually we ended up with really 2. Of course, the one who would get the grand prize, and also we had a kind of honorable mention because it was also quite a good play and could have won also. The honorable mention, for example, was written by a playwright from Canada, Brian Budhu. It's entitled Songs for Sandy, Reflections on a Superstorm, and it consists of basically monologues by various people who have been affected by by Sandy, and also some dialogue with these characters with other people in their vicinity. So it's different perspectives on what happens when climate change becomes a personal thing to people. So that was quite a good play. But the best play was written by really a famous playwright from Slovenia, Barbara Anderlich. And she entitled it A Continental Divide. And what she does in that play is she has two groups of people, 2 groups of actors, one of which is supposed to represent those who are victims of floods, and the other group represents victims of drought. So you've got 2 really contrasting events that are really caused by climate change. That extreme drought, where people don't have water at all, and extreme floods, where people have too much water. And you can't, and they both are bad because the balance of nature has been transgressed by us, human beings. And the idea of the play, and also of the other plays, is that people watching or reading the plays or hearing it on radio will think seriously about how we as individuals and as countries can help mitigate the effects of this terrible thing that we have brought to ourselves.
And what's interesting, I think, in the continental divide is, besides this, and we've suffered it, we ourselves, while we're having matinding tagtuyot or extreme drought in Mindanao and other parts of Luzon, northern Luzon, like even our region too. We're also having the super typhoons really hitting us simultaneously in different parts. So it's a very vivid reflection or portrait of what's happening all over the world. And what's interesting also is how they've moved in media in it, news coverage, etc. So it's a very interesting way. We did already a broadcast of this. It will be aired on webcast as well as here in the Philippines at 6 o'clock on DZRH. And it will be heard also in Paris at 12 noon on the 6th, because the awarding ceremony will be on December 5. So it's wonderful that Dr. Wallstrom will provide the $5,000,
Yes.
the prize for the winner, and all the other finalists and even participants will have a certificate of acknowledgement.
Yes,
for
and
their
we've
entry.
actually mentioned their names, at least the ones we can remember, because they were really quite memorable. For example, there was this play from Bulgaria, Ivan Dimitrov, entitled Angry Angels, where angels come to earth and get angry because of what we've done to, what humanity has done to the earth. Endless Summer, a collection of theatrical outbursts by Ella Rose Chari of the USA. Maybe I should mention that some of these playwrights who joined are actually very professional. Their entries were sent to us by their agents. It wasn't just the playwrights themselves. Planet Hospice by Daniel Kinch of the USA. You can see from the title that we're in ICU.
emergency.
We're in ICU, right?
Emergency situation.
When the Music Stops by Chris Bush of the UK. It was quite, it was nice to read them, to know that a lot of playwrights are really taking climate change so seriously that they spend time and effort writing these plays.
Well, they will serve as a creative army, really to conscientize, to inform, to motivate. And it's wonderful that UNESCO, which has given patronage to our program, will, in fact, through its network of UNESCO-associated schools, can make this available. In fact, all of these entries, they were all posted, of course, for them to have joined through the UNESCO network, the Global Education Network, and of course the International Theatre Institute. So it was wonderful, and I think it's a good beginning, and it can proceed. There is already conversations that for the next ITI Congress in Manaus, in Brazil, it will be given, some of the plays to schools that may want to produce them.
Oh, that's excellent. And these plays are particularly interesting for us in the Philippines, because the Philippines has always had a tradition of people looking to drama to understand what the world is all about. So we have a very long tradition, dating back to the period when we were still under colonial rule. And a lot of countries are like us, where people actually look at live theater, and now the equivalent of live theater, which is really radio, television, and film, to understand themselves. Theater and art really is just the world talking to itself. That's what it is.
Yes. And please stay with us. We'll be right back. We'll continue our dialogue, and we'll be adding on other initiatives for you to know in advance what's going to happen in Paris.